Well, thank you so much, Diana, for those kind words. And I just want to give another shout out to both Diana Jupe and Cindy Gavin, the co-chairs of this meeting. They did all of the planning, and it really does take a tremendous amount of work. So thank you, Diana. Thank you, Cindy. We're excited for the 3 days ahead of us with this meeting. So next slide, we are all here because pancreatic cancer has touched our lives in some way, whether that's through a personal experience or it's because you've met the amazing constituents that all utilize our services and our programs of all of our organizations. And my story, my father died from pancreatic cancer in 1999. It's hard to believe it was 23 years ago now. He was 52 years old and he died 4 months after his diagnosis. And unfortunately, as you all know, a fairly typical story. And I was mad and wanted to figure out how I could get involved and do something to change outcomes for patients. And I know all of you have similar stories like that, similar people that you've met through your roles at your organizations that inspire you every day to come together and to change outcomes for pancreatic cancer patients. And that's really what the coalition is all about, is our collective energy and spirit that is going to help to accelerate progress for patients as we all move forward with the missions across our organization. So again, we know the statistics, but pancreatic cancer has the lowest survival rate among all major cancers. Nearly 500,000 people worldwide will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer this year, and that number continues to increase year over year. And of course, there is no early detection strategy, and we need improved treatments for patients. And so again, that's really what the coalition is all about. I think that's what inspired many of us to come together in the early years. And so the WPCC's purpose and mission is to drive transformational change for all those affected by pancreatic cancer. And collectively, through our voices and our different organizations that have different programs and services for patients, together we really are transforming the history of this disease. And so I want to tell you just a little bit about the history of the World Pancreatic Cancer Coalition. Many of us came together back in 2014, actually, for the first time in Europe. Celgene Corporation back then, who of course since has been acquired by BMS, but Celgene brought us together about 6 different times over 2 years to talk about how they could help support the organizations around the world. And from that, we launched our inaugural World Pancreatic Cancer Day. That was back in November of 2014. And then after a couple of years of this, many of the leaders across the various organizations came together and said, you know, we really need to do this on our own. We want the support of our pharmaceutical partners, but let's create a coalition. Let's create the World Pancreatic Cancer Coalition. And so we officially launched the coalition and had our inaugural meeting back in May of 2016. And since then, we have now had, we've had a coalition meeting or an annual meeting every year. Of course, the last couple of years have been virtual, and we have continued to collectively work together to execute the World Pancreatic Cancer Day campaign every November on World Pancreatic Cancer Day. So I want to tell you a little bit about the World Pancreatic Cancer Coalition. The WPCC is not a legal entity, so I think some people might think that it is. It is not a separate legal entity. It's just a coalition that we have set up informally to bring everybody together to collectively work together. The coalition is led by 2 leadership committees, the World Pancreatic Cancer Coalition Steering Committee. The steering committee meets monthly and talks about the direction of the coalition, talks about this annual meeting. Our 2 co-hosts of this meeting come from our steering committee. And then there also is a World Pancreatic Cancer Day campaign committee that works throughout the year to plan the World Pancreatic Cancer Day campaign. And all of these activities, I'm proud as the CEO of PanCan that PanCan helps to support the coalition and its activities. I personally feel it's really important that we all work together, that collectively we are much stronger than any one organization by ourselves. And we're only able to support the coalition's efforts because we go out and we have amazing sponsors who provide the funding that allows PanCan to then support the coalition. So again, a shout out to all of our sponsors. So I want to introduce you to our amazing committees that spend a lot of time throughout the year ensuring that the activities are planned and that we have a way to bring all of you together. On our steering committee, we have Kathy, we have Charlotte from Norway, we have Barbara from the United States, Danny from Australia, Stephanie from Canada, Cindy from the United States, Diana from England, Michelle from Australia, and Frederica from Italy. That was a test on whether I knew all of the flags. And then again, just want to give a special shout out to Cindy and Diana again as the co-chairs of our annual meeting planning committee. And then next up, our World Pancreatic Cancer Day campaign committee, led Jessica is the chair of that committee from Australia, Louis from Gibraltar, Louis from England, Lisa and Carrie from the United States, Francesca from Italy, Jenny Lee from Israel, Iga from Poland, and Helen from Canada. So as you can see, both committees are well represented with different cultures, different customs, and different parts of the world that are helping to inform the work of the coalition. So let's everybody give a virtual round of applause to both our World Pancreatic Cancer Steering Committee and our Day Committee. Thank you again to all of you for the incredible efforts and work that you do throughout the year. And we do once a year look out to the coalition for new potential candidates who are interested in applying to sit on one of the committees. And so please look out for those emails. If you are interested in sitting on one of the committees, you can certainly reach out to me anytime or Jenny Isaacson at PanCan, and we'd be happy to provide you with more information. So the coalition really has two initiatives that we focus on. One is our annual meeting, which of course we're all attending this year virtually. And the idea behind the annual meeting was to have an opportunity for all of us to come together for networking and for best practice sharing. That's really what the annual meeting is all about, that we're all out there in different parts of the world trying to improve outcomes for pancreatic cancer patients. And let's ensure that we learn from each other. Let's collaborate and partner together where it makes sense. And so the annual meeting really provides that opportunity to be able to meet each other, network, and hopefully go home and have a whole new network of people that you can turn to when you're trying to decide, how do I set up a patient program, or how do I fund a research grant? You've got a whole bunch of colleagues that are doing similar things that you can reach out to. And then the second big initiative of the coalition is our World Pancreatic Cancer Day campaign, of course. We do this annually in November. November, as you all know, is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. And the day is the third Thursday in November. And really excited this year. November 17th is the big day, and you will learn more about the campaign and all the tools and resources that are available for you to execute it through your organization on the third meeting day of this annual meeting. And the next slide just shows you again what amazing things can happen when we all come together. This is all across the world, the amazing efforts of the people turning monuments and important, structures in their countries purple. And it's quite a sight to see on social media during November, an amazing awareness opportunity to tell the world about why they need to pay attention to pancreatic cancer and why they need to get involved to help us change outcomes. Next slide. So we've had amazing growth of the coalition, even in the last year, with us still being in a virtual state. We have gone from 99 member organizations to 106. And this represents now 37 countries on 6 continents. So I think that's a pretty impressive statistic to go back and tell your membership about. And just to give you a sense of the growth since we started the coalition in 2016. In 2016, there were only 54 organizations representing 24 countries. So it really is amazing, the additional activity and spotlight on pancreatic cancer. The next slide shows you a map of the world so that you can see where all of the member organizations are. And so you can see we've got a lot sort of in North America, we've got a lot over in Europe, but really, representation all across the globe, which is important that we are, that there are efforts all across the world to improve outcomes for pancreatic cancer patients and to accelerate research. Next slide. And then I think the other really important aspect of our coalition is, not every organization is focused in doing the same thing, but collectively, when you pull all of our organizations together, we really do have this comprehensive approach to fighting the disease. Some of your organizations are focused around advocacy, awareness, and fundraising. Some are doing education and healthcare professional training. Some are funding research. Some are providing services and support to patients and families, and some, of course, are doing multiple activities. But really impressive that we have such a wide breadth of experience and programs and services that are being provided to the pancreatic cancer community. Next slide. I am very excited to welcome, we have 6 new coalition members that have joined over the last year. So let's start with Rose McQuarrie Legacy Fund, Pants Off Racing, the Rumand Foundation, Whipple Warriors, and Destroy Pancreatic Cancer. We're really excited that we had an organization join us called National LNLC from Niger in West Africa. So wonderful to have an organization representing us from West Africa. And then finally, one of the things Diana mentioned in her opening remarks that the committee is really excited about, that we decided to introduce this year for the first time at this meeting, is a new award. We think there's so many phenomenal things that you all are doing across the organizations. You have so many phenomenal stories and volunteers and donors. And so we thought this year we would start with an award for the most outstanding volunteer. Nominations were sent in from all of you, and there was a committee that selected the most outstanding volunteer award, and that will be announced during this meeting. So we're really excited to introduce this award and potentially think about introducing more awards in the future. Next slide. And finally, once again, we just want to give a special shout out and thank you to our sponsors, AstraZeneca, Ipsen, Novartis, Novacure, and Merck. Without your incredible support, we absolutely could not do the efforts of the coalition. And we're so proud to have representatives from these companies joining us today and throughout the meeting.